Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It is a cold day in the Crown of Maine and the Great White North up along the Canadian border, but we don't care because it's the last day of frigid February. Goodbye, February. We bid you adieu, au revoir, fare thee well, see you next year. Hello, March. March is a bittersweet time up here. It's the time of endings and time of beginnings. It's sad, it's exciting. It's a yin and yang situation up here. In a couple weeks, we're going to lose the snowpack. Everything's going to go to sloppy mush out there. And losing the snowpack, we're going to lose all our wonderful winter outdoor activities. We're going to have to put the snowmobiles away, the skis away, the snowshoes away, and call it a season. Our season started slow. We got snow late. So it's like we got snow in December. Here it is. Now it's gone. Boom. Done. And it kind of sucks because, we wanted a little bit more outdoor winterness. However, in a couple weeks, the days are getting longer. March 12th, we push that clock forward, and it's always nice to have sunshine for longer when the cold hurts your face and the sun is always milky in the sky. So that's nice, and we're going to have the spring equinox. Temperatures are going to warm up around the 20th, so that's going to be great. So we're sitting in this this kind of feeling of limbo. One thing's ending, one thing's beginning. There's sadness, there's happiness. So it's kind of like a void. You don't really know what to do. You got to get your cool winter stuff done that you want done, but then you want to start working on the cool warm weather stuff. So it's that's where we're at. We're in that void. Things aren't quite over, but things aren't quite ready to begin. I didn't know what I wanted to talk about today on Coffee Talk. So people have been calling me since the news broke that the plague is Chinese manufactured, which we all knew. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it. And ultimately, I started following the plague when it was over in China in 2020, in January of 2020. It wasn't even here yet. I followed it. I was very stringent. I was the go-to girl for my friends and family. We were wearing N95s way before they told us to. We were crazy people. We were disinfecting. We were disinfecting our groceries. We didn't know it was a novel virus, and I have a chronic condition, so we weren't going to put me at risk. And that's that on that subject. This has become the longest, most painful, hideous I told you so. And I am very angry. Not because I got the plague. I'm not happy about that. It took me a year to recover. I lost a lot of my life recovering. It was pretty damaging and devastating. As I put it, I couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. I lost my memory. I lost my hair. I lost my eyebrows. I lost my eyelashes. I had brain fog. I couldn't string a sentence together. Can you imagine? I had no words to speak to you a year ago. Just the way it is. And here we are. I've come a long way, baby. I got my thoughts back. I got my faculties back. I got my personality back because the plague also robbed me of my personality. It robbed me of friendships. It robbed me of relationships because people just couldn't handle it. I got downright damn mean. And now I'm back. And it was a bittersweet journey. If you have long plague, understand that with a lot of work, a lot of reinforcement, I had to work on my motor skills. I had to work on my memory skills. It was brutal. I had to work on my diet. I had to work on my exercise. Eventually, it does come back. You do get at least a 95% semblance of normal. Well, at least I did. And now, but really bothered me was because I knew it was an attack, and so that irritated me when I got the plague. I knew I was a casualty of something that everybody was denying, and that kind of sucked. But what sucked more was in talking about it, I was punished. People were punished in this country for saying where it came from, and now It's over. The government has decided you can say it now. We're sorry. We punished everybody. We punished people. We took their right of free speech away from them. We told you you were bad if you discussed it. But yeah, you were right. So there you go. So I'm really steamed about it, and I could really go off on a tangent about it, and I don't want to. I'm still processing this whole thing, knowing it was an attack and knowing that I was deceived by my own government. I was just a casualty. I was collateral damage. And that's hard for me to wrap my head around because we have a lot of military veterans in my family. My grandfather survived Stalag 17 in World War II. And I'm a product of that survival. So, we have people in every branch of the service. We have retired vets. We have disabled vets. My son is a disabled veteran due to his military service. So, it just kind of jacks my chain a little bit. So we're going to not talk about that. And we're going to tell you about the plans that we have for the homestead and the plans that we have for this channel. We are going to take you, because we are out back, in the outback, once the snowpack melts, and we'll show you how to slip and slog professionally in the mud. And we are going to be rerouting our flock. If you are contemplating, or maybe you've actually decided to get backyard chickens, and you're going to be a backyard chicken tender too, we're going to take you out back and we're going to show you the new setup for our chickens and our turkeys. They've had to be rerouted because we are opening up a couple new garden plots. We had one of our sons move home into the area with his family. So we got the grandkids here, and it doesn't hurt for me, Ma, to grow a little bit of extra vegetable and can it and shove it on the shelf for the winter time. Extra food is always handy. So we're going to take you along on that adventure. We will be starting our seedlings soon. Usually I have an indoor greenhouse. We're not going to have that this year because I have cats that like to play in the sand. We had a few new kitten babies over the winter, and they love playing in dirt and sand and everything. So I'm going to teach you how to take a 5-gallon water bottle, and we're going to go old school with this, and we're going to do our seedlings. We're going to do our starts in a terrarium environment, and I'll be taking you along for that. That way the cats don't get in there. I am also planning on getting at least 6 Orpingtons. I'm waiting for the word that the Orpies are in, and I'm going to get 6 of them, and I'm going to show you how we keep them warm in their little baby brooder, 1800 style. We live off the grid, so we don't have the luxury to have a brooder heater lamp. I don't like them anyways because they cause fires, but that's a whole nother segment. People use them. People like them. They use the heat lamps for the chicks. We do not. We do it the old school way. And we are going to set up our little baby brooder by the wood stove, and I will be getting up every 2 hours for many weeks until the babies have feathers. I will be getting up every 2 hours making them hot water bottle mamas. So we'll show you how we do our baby chicks. We did hatch 2 baby chicks on the homestead last year. We don't know. Nobody has gone broody. Nobody's given any sign that they want to have babies. So I don't know. That's just how it goes. Some years it's hit, some years it's missed. We're going to be making my homemade organic fertilizer, and I will be showing you how we do that. And we are going to be breaking ground on the brand new fiber studio. We went shopping. We went shopping this weekend. We went shopping for fencing, fence stakes, and lumber for my brand new fiber studio. Hopefully we will be open by Mother's Day. That's the goal. If all goes 100% well, but hey, it's real life. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. There might be starts and stops and fits and giggles, so who knows? We're just hoping that I can have a grand opening on Mother's Day. If not, it'll be whenever. Because that's kind of the flow you have to go with. You pick a date, pick a goal, hope it happens, and if it doesn't, don't get disappointed. Just keep pushing through. Because the difference between success and failure is whether or not you give up. You may notice I got my 12 long stems this week. I've known himself for 41 years. Kerri, you're 52. How have you known your husband for 41 years? We grew up together. He lived downstairs. I lived upstairs. So for 41 years of my life, just about every single day, I have seen my husband. We've had some kind of conversation every single day. We grew up together. I grew up. I got cute. We had babies. We got married. We will have been married for 31 years at the end of April. So that's just the way it is. We had goals. We had hopes. We had aspirations, and we had dreams. We had them personally, and we had them for what we wanted our marriage to look like. The secret to a happy marriage, a long marriage, is to not lose the romance in your marriage. You've always got to make your spouse feel special, like they matter. Now, life will happen. There will be times where you do not like this person that you married, that you cohabitate with for all these years. You will take each other for granted. You will. You will expect a hot meal to be on the table when you come home every time. It's just expected. You will expect somebody to pick up the socks that didn't quite get it in the hamper. You will expect somebody to screw the toothpaste cap back on the toothpaste tube. These are things that you just expect. And sometimes we lose the appreciation for each other, and we take each other for granted. Even we do it. We're human beings. What we do is we keep the romance in our marriage. We make sure that each one of us knows how much we truly mean to each other. We do date night. On date night, sometimes date night is just going and grabbing a pizza and go sitting in the laundromat parking lot and getting some chores done. Date night has rules for us. We're together, so it's together time. But we are not allowed to talk about the grown children, the grandchildren, or extended family issues and such. That is for a regular dinner conversation at the house. We talk about things like the business, where we want our life to be, his personal goals, my personal goals, our marital goals, how we're feeling. That's a big thing. How are you feeling today? We're always asking each other, how do you feel today? He asks me at night. I ask him midday, how are you feeling today? How's your day going? You always want that little extra support, and it just means so much when your spouse asks you, how are you? I care about you. I want to know what's going on in your mind. Are you okay? The world is crazy. How are you doing inside? It's very important to keep a pulse on your partner's mind, body, and spirit. The mental health, the emotional health, and their spiritual health. It's very important that you make the connection there with your mental health, your spiritual health, your emotional health. And it's very important that if there is something happening, that you don't hold it in and hold it back, because that leads to problems down the road. We envisioned a life, and this is what we do on date night. We check in with the life that we envisioned when we were in our teens and 20s. We envisioned a life with a lot of children. We had 3. I had a medical condition. We could have no more than 3 children. We envisioned retiring early. We envisioned growing old, sitting on the front porch together, watching our great-grandchildren play on our property in the yard. We did not envision the homestead. That came along the way. I always wanted to do the Little House on the Prairie thing. And it was kind of an economic, social experiment. Could it be done? We fell in love with the simple life. We fell in love with reading about the simple life, only to find out that the simple life ain't so simple and it ain't so cheap. And while it is beautiful and relaxing and it keeps you in touch with nature, it keeps you in touch with spiritual aspects of being in nature, it's hard work. And we didn't really, in our teens, did not plan on homesteading. That was a thing that came about. And it worked out. We have reached the goal of almost retirement for him, and he is still a young man. So we've reached quite a few goals, and now we sit on date night and we talk about from this point forward. All that past behind us. Now from this point forward, where do you want to go? You're almost retired. What do you want to do? That's how the fiber studio came about. I wanted to expand. I have the capacity to expand. My business is doing well, and I wanted the expansion. And with the way the world is, I wanted to make my life as recession-proof, bulletproof in that regard as possible. So I want a fiber studio on the homestead, and that's what we're doing. And that will fulfill a huge dream of mine, my personal goal, but it also makes us as a family unit recession proof. I can make money from the confines of my property without paying a rent and have it stripped away from me if times get really bad. So that's another aspect. The other thing that we often practice is not going to bed angry at each other. My grandmother told us when we got married, she sat both of us down and she says, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to have times you don't even like each other. You're going to have arguments. Kids are a burden on a marriage, as wonderful as children are. She had 4 children of her own. She had 11 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren, and she had a hand in raising just about every one of them. And it was a good life with her. And traditional marriage to my grandfather, and she stayed home and she took care of everybody, and he went to work, and they just had a traditional marriage. And for the most part, we modeled our life after my grandmother's marriage and himself's parents' marriage. And my grandmother said, there are going to be times where you look at each other, you don't even like each other, but you need to say goodnight to each other and I love you before you go to bed. No matter how mad you are at each other, you got to let each other know that you love each other, because that saves you a lot of nighttime tears. And you will be able to go to sleep, and tomorrow's a new day. And maybe the problem is not as significant as you thought. The argument was not as important as you thought, and it will not carry over into the next day. But if you were to lose your spouse in the middle of the night, how would you feel that your last words were the argument? So always tell your spouse that you love them before you go to bed. And, on that note, I guess that's what I wanted to talk about today, because we're running a little long. So we are going to do some modifications to this channel. We are going to be putting up a lot more of the homestead as the weather breaks. We are going to be showing you a lot more of the fiber studio and the fiber arts, and hopefully you enjoy that, as well as still speak on the news. Just today, the news is just too heavy for me to carry that burden. So I am setting that aside, and I am allowing the YouTubers that have been carrying you the news much longer than I have to carry on and talk about what they need to talk about. And we'll be back on track coming right up. Carpe diem, beautiful creatures of the world, because no one promised you a tomorrow.